You're going to make mistakes. You have to remember that this is an incredibly stressful situation, and you're not going to be able to have your game face on and do everything right and knock everything out of the park. It's inevitable that the stress and anxiety of this situation is going to get to you. Your kid's not answering you correctly or doing what you want them to do could cause problems, and it is going to cause problems, and you have to expect it. And when you make those mistakes, you just recognize that you did it and do things to make it better. Like I said, you're not always going to be able to do everything right. You can do everything in your power to try to prepare to make sure that you hedge your bets to where you are, there's a chance that you might be able to stop yourself, but inevitably things are going to get under your skin. It happens to me. It's just one of those things that you have to deal with. There's also a time where you're probably going to react to your ex. No matter what you do and how you prepare, depending on the perfect storm and how things are going at the time, there's a probability that you will say the wrong thing or respond the wrong way or give them that emotional reaction that that we all know that they want. And when you make those mistakes, the key is to not beat yourself up about it, to not completely torpedo yourself thinking that you failed and that you're not going to be able to get better on this. Bottom line is, when you make a mistake, it's not the end of the world. It may not feel like the best day you're going to have, but it's not a catastrophic failure that's going to torpedo everything. Now, there are things that you could potentially do if you make a huge, colossal mistake and you respond really negatively, or you get violent, or you do something, just completely over the top. Yeah, there are times where that could cause problems, but even still, that's still not the end of the world. You don't want to make it a regular thing, but everything for the most part is recoverable. Granted, the consequences of some of those can complicate your situation, but as soon as you can get yourself back in control, slow yourself down and start, reacting rationally instead of emotionally, things generally tend to start getting better. The key here is being able to recognize when you actually make a mistake and then doing something to correct it. Now, I know I've talked about this before, and it's a really important thing to hit on because there's a couple of different ways to handle it. One, you can just ignore it. You could make a mistake and you could just, if let's say hypothetically you blow up at your kids. And primarily what I'm going to talk about has to do with dealing with your kids, because honestly, if you make a mistake with your ex, just ignore it. There's really no reason. If you feel like you need to apologize, that's fine. But for the most part, it's not going to make any difference. No matter what you say or do to them, they're still going to basically, spin the situation to where you're a horrible person, whether you did something wrong or you didn't. So you don't necessarily I wouldn't recommend putting yourself in adding extra chaos into your situation by trying to apologize to your ex. However, before I move on to the kids things, one thing I will say is there was a period of time where and I've talked about this in the past, where I did I exploded on the ex before a IEP meeting for our son a couple years ago. Not one of my most shining moments, and is prior to all of my realization of narcissistic abuse, and before I developed all the different techniques that I'm sharing with you guys now, and I was just kind of running open loop, and I'd had enough, and I responded negatively. Now, in that situation, I did actually send an apology, kind of a half apology, because I was sick and medicated and stuff like that, and just said, hey, I shouldn't have done that. I don't remember how I said it, but primarily that was because I realized I really messed up, and there was a strong possibility that I was going to pay a consequence for that. And fortunately, in my situation, the consequence was relatively minor. There were some issues that happened with the kids as a result of it, not necessarily for me exploding, but just some of the things I said during that conversation. And then during the court part of it, or when I took her to a small claims court to try to sue her when we were in when we were in mediation, she did bring it up that I yelled at her and I said things and stuff like that. And it was, but there was no real impact to my situation. But bottom line is, if you make a mistake with your ex, just let it go, learn from it, understand what the ramifications are, and really work hard to not try to do that again. Now, however, whenever you make a mistake with your kids, I personally think it's important that you, after the situation has calmed down, that you do talk to them and you explain. You don't explain away what you did. You apologize for what you did. You recognize that it wasn't right and that you're striving to be better, and that you want, that type of chaos out of your environment. You have to be really careful though, and I just want to reiterate this, is you don't make excuses for it. Do not sit there and say, oh, well, I'm so tired or stressed or whatever, or, blame it on them or do any of those things that just, it just isn't going to help you. You need to own the mistake. You need to validate to your child that, the situation happened, that mommy or daddy got really angry and, you're really working on it. You don't want to do that anymore. This isn't what we want to happen in the house. And you acknowledge that, right? Because the bottom line is you need to have that conversation about what's going on so that they understand that you're trying to change and you're recognizing that you weren't really happy with that behavior of yourself. And I wouldn't even necessarily talk about what their part of it is. Just say that that's not really how you want to deal with it, and that you're going to try to work better going forward to make sure that stuff doesn't happen. And like I said, that's really the key. The key is being able to recognize that you made a mistake, recognize the implications of it, and do some proactive things to make it better and to demonstrate to your kids that you are making an active effort to be better. And they need to see that. They also need to see that so that they understand that people who want to change can change. You don't want to give them the false illusion that everyone can change, but you do want to be able to say, look, you don't have to act or be the same way. You can decide that you want to be, you want to change who you are, how you are, and make active steps towards that. Okay, so there's two key things that you really have to remember on this. And I'm going to, basically, and I kind of went over both of them, but just to really drive the point home. And the first one is related primarily to your ex, is it doesn't matter what you do, it's not going to make any difference. What I mean is, if you do the right thing and you are on your best behavior, they are not going to recognize it. And if you make a mistake, they'll recognize that, but no matter what, you're going to be demonized in their eyes. So, keep that in mind when you're doing things. That's one reason why it's, once you've proven this to yourself, which most of us, that happens relatively quickly. Once you've proven it to yourself, then you realize that you don't need to put that extra effort into it. Just keep the things as calm and stable as possible. Gray rock is really important. Hybrid no contact is super important. And just understand that the likelihood that your ex is going to say, oh, Susie, you have really changed and I really appreciate everything you've done. It ain't going to happen. So, don't beat yourself up when it comes to your ex and those type of things. Okay, the second thing is with your children. Bottom line, they love you, even if they may not act like it or they may be angry, they love you and they will give you second chances. So even if you feel like you completely failed and you've let your kids down or you've torpedoed your situation, just know that your kids want to love you. They want to believe you. They want to see the best in you. You are their parent. You are their mom. You are their dad. And that means a lot to them. You're going to see throughout this whole process that it doesn't matter what the other parent does. They will give them a break. So when you make a mistake, remember that they're giving this other person, who's more than likely doing rather overt things to them, and they're giving them a pass. So if you are doing even if you did something, you really made a mistake, you have an opportunity to address it and work to fix it, because they want to fix it. They want it to be better. They want the illusion of what they're thinking about with everything to be real. And we have the power and the opportunity to basically do that for them, because we can recognize what we've done wrong and what we've done right, leverage off the good stuff, start working on the bad stuff, and make the environment better. And that's where I'm going to leave this video, guys. If you're struggling with this, and you allow the situation to really kind of overwhelm you, which is incredibly common. And when I was in the midst of this, in the early stages of this, I beat myself up on everything. Every time I did something, I was second guessing myself and trying to figure out what to do. Once I calmed down and started to relax a little bit and started to raise basically some of the stuff I was just talking about to really understand it, things started to get better. Didn't happen overnight. I won't tell you that. I'm not going to tell you that it's a magic pill and you just do this and boom, everything gets better, because that isn't true. It does take perseverance. It does take effort. It does take consistency, where you have to keep doing the right thing over and over again to prove to your kids that things have changed and things are going to be better. And then once they feel comfortable in it, you'll start to see those changes. All right, so I'm going to wrap this video up. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you like the channel, please subscribe. And if you haven't done so already, could you jump on over to the dadsfilingdivorce.com website and sign up for the newsletter? So I send out newsletters periodically with links and such, and links to the live streams and just different topics that I think you guys might find interesting. So, and on that, I will chat with you guys on the next video. Take care. Bye.